Hi everyone, my name is Reiko McNish Sato and welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to do a full English video on my self-introduction because I feel like I've never really done that in English, and right now over 90% of my subscribers on YouTube are Japanese or people outside of Japan that is Japanese or that speaks Japanese. So only 10% or a little bit more are English speakers and are from outside of Japan, but I wanted to kind of utilize this channel to speak more about Japan because I feel like there's not enough content about Japan out there in the world that's done by a Japanese person. So as somebody that's living in Tokyo, that's something I want to do on this channel from now on. So I'm going to be posting a little bit more of English videos besides vlogs and behind the scenes and stuff like that. So I hope you guys look forward to that. And so I was born in Tokyo, raised in Canada. I moved to Canada with my whole family when I was 10 years old, and then I went back and forth, but I came back to Japan, Tokyo, before I got into a university. So I went to a university in Tokyo called International Christian University. So it was a very American curriculum college, so the education, everything, most of my classes that I took was pretty much English. So back then I could not speak Japanese that much, so I had a lot of identity crisis. I went through cultural differences and shocks, and so after that, when I was in senior in college, I established my company called AMATERAS, which is the company that I run and which is also the name of my fashion brand that I run right now. So it's been 6 years ever since I launched AMATERAS and started my own fashion brand. The reason why I started the brand was because as a Japanese person who grew up outside of Japan and came back to Japan, there was a lot of things that I personally felt like my perspectives was very different from the people that grew up here, and I think that's normal. It's not just Japan. If you grew up in America, or if you're bilingual, if you're trilingual, that's your perspectives. Whatever you see in your life, that's your range of perspectives that you have. So I was born here, but then because I was raised in Canada, I guess I was always able to look at Japan from the third person's perspective rather than my own country that I'm here right now. So, living in Canada, everybody loved Japan. Everybody was always telling me all these crazy stories about Tokyo and Japan. And I even thought when I was 16 that there's robots working in Tokyo. That's what I was that was my expectation coming to Tokyo. Literally, robots are cleaning the places, bringing in food, and because that's how Tokyo is always portrayed in movies. But so there was definitely a gap between what Japan is seen by foreigners versus what Japan really is. And this is really weird and interesting, but you guys probably have a better understanding about Japan, especially European people or even American, even Asian people. They respect Japan, or they see the value in Japan, that they are better at branding our culture, Japan, compared to us Japanese, because Japanese people always look at the West. They're always respecting and wanting to be the Western people or culture. I felt like I could do something there, and that's why I created this brand called AMATERAS, which is the name of the sun goddess in Japanese mythology. I kind of got an inspiration from that, and created a brand where we mix the Western essence and the Japanese essence into one piece. So in every pieces that we have in our nightwear brand, the loungewear brand, it's all about Japanese quality or Japanese designs, but it's a very westernized loungewear. So because it's been 6 years, my goal is to kind of start expanding that to, more globally, because now that COVID is over. So that, and also I want to do more businesses and just go into more different industries, but focusing on the same concept, which is modernizing the Japanese culture or branding our Japanese culture into something cooler, Because I have a lot of English speakers followers on my Instagram especially, I do get a lot of interesting questions all the time, so I'm going to answer a few as a part of my introduction. Okay, so let me just read a few. So the pants that I'm wearing right now is actually one of the designs, our signature design. It's a satin pants, and on the sideline, this is a kind of similar to kimono fabrics, and it's yeah, so something like this is what AMATERAS is. And also this iPhone case is our collaboration with American socket brand called Pop Socket. The inspiration is from the Japanese pottery, as well as like the Zen garden kind of, you know, the linear line design. So I did a creative direction for that. So that's kind of what I'm doing. And okay, so some questions, okay? Are you better in English or Japanese? So I don't know what's better for me, but definitely I feel like English is more, I have more vocabulary or way of expression when I'm speaking English. I could be more expressive, I can be more, I have a lot of emotions and feelings when I'm speaking English. Japanese, I feel more strict. And I was thinking why recently, because I get these questions a lot, but I think it's because I grew up mostly speaking English, and even in college I was speaking mostly in English, and the only time I spoke Japanese was either with my parents' family or after I graduated college, so which was when I started working or started my business. And Japanese is, you know, one of the hardest language to learn. Kanji, there's like ways to speak to elder people. The language is like completely different depending on who you're talking to. If you're talking to somebody older than you, somebody younger than you. Learning Japanese was probably the period of time that I studied the most in my whole entire life. I am more comfortable and better at speaking English with friends or in a casual situation, or when I want to express my feelings or ideas and something that I'm passionate about. But in Japanese, would be more business conversation. Definitely my personality changes depending on what language I'm speaking. This is an interesting part. Please comment if you guys feel the same way. Okay, another question. Was it difficult for you to adapt into Japanese culture when you came back to Japan? Yes. I went into a private Japanese high school before I got into university, because getting into university in Japan is really hard, and you know, that was when I studied Japanese as well, learned all these kanjis, that's like over 1,000 words. More than that, it was more difficult for me to adapt with the Japanese culture and the customs, like what's normal here and what's normal in Canada was so different in so many ways. There's a lot of things that people in Japan, they don't say it, but then they feel a lot of things, so it's kind of scary. Because in America or Canada, I was educated to speak up. Whenever you have an opinion, whenever, you know, you want to say something, it's not a bad thing to have an opinion. It's not a bad thing to speak up, obviously. So, but if you try to do that in Japan, you will be looked at somebody that has a high ego, or you have too much to say. And there are other questions like, what do you love about Japan? What are the differences, biggest cultural differences between Japan and Canada or foreign countries? Or would you recommend living in Japan to a foreigner? That's an interesting one. But I guess I could do this in another video. I would love to know your comments on that, what you feel. Yeah, maybe I can pick them up and that'll be a fun conversation. So that's it for today, and that is what I do. On this YouTube channel, I'll be posting more of what I do behind the scenes, sometimes in Japanese, sometimes in English, so stay tuned for that. I'm very excited to be starting this English series, so yeah. Alright, I will see you guys in the next video. Janet!